What would you do if you were drowning in debt with seemingly no way out? How far would you go for financial security? This story might just make you question everything you thought you knew about love, sacrifice, and true wealth. Marcus Johnson was struggling to make ends meet. At 28 years old, he was in his final year of medical school, drowning in student loans that seemed to multiply with each passing semester. His tiny apartment was barely habitable. A leaky faucet that never stopped dripping, walls thin enough to hear his neighbors' every conversation, and a heating system that worked only when it felt like it. The winter had been particularly harsh, and Marcus found himself taking extra shifts at the hospital cafeteria just to keep the electricity on. His dreams of becoming a pediatrician seemed further away with each bill that arrived. His parents, both school teachers in a small town, had already mortgaged their home to help with his education. Marcus couldn't bear to ask them for more. One particularly cold Tuesday evening, while organizing supplies at the free clinic where he volunteered, Marcus encountered Eleanor Whitmore. She was 71 years old, with silver hair that caught the light and bright blue eyes that sparkled with intelligence. Despite her age, she moved with grace and purpose, dressed in simple but quality clothes. Eleanor had come to the clinic not as a patient but to make a donation. Marcus had been assigned to give her a tour of the facility. "We appreciate your generosity, Mrs. Whitmore," Marcus said, showing her around the cramped examination rooms. "Please call me Eleanor," she replied with a warm smile. "And it's Ms. Whitmore, actually. Never married. Have you ever met someone who changed the course of your life completely? Someone who appeared in your darkest hour like a guardian angel? Comment below if you've experienced such a life-changing encounter." "You must be exhausted," she commented, noticing the dark circles under his eyes. Marcus tried to brush it off. "I'm fine. The experience is worth it." Eleanor gave him a knowing look. "You remind me of someone I used to know. Determined, passionate, too stubborn to admit when you need help." By the end of the tour, Eleanor had insisted on treating Marcus to dinner at a nearby diner. Nothing fancy, just warm food and good conversation. It became a weekly occurrence. Every Tuesday, Eleanor would arrive at the clinic with a small donation, and afterward, they would share a meal together. Marcus learned that Eleanor had been a pioneering female surgeon in the 1970s, breaking barriers in a male-dominated field. She had never married, dedicating her life instead to her career and humanitarian work. What Marcus didn't know was that Eleanor had quietly amassed considerable wealth through smart investments and frugal living. For her part, Eleanor saw in Marcus not just a struggling student, but a compassionate healer who put others before himself. Qualities she had always admired. Their unlikely friendship blossomed over shared medical journals and discussions about healthcare inequalities. 3 months into their friendship, Eleanor fell ill with pneumonia. Marcus visited her at the hospital daily, bringing her favorite books and keeping her company between his shifts and classes. During her recovery, Eleanor made a confession. "Marcus," she said one evening, her voice still weak from her illness, "I have no family left, no children, no siblings. When I'm gone, everything I've worked for will go to distant relatives who never cared to know me." Marcus took her hand. "You're going to be fine, Eleanor. The doctors say you're recovering well." She smiled. "Perhaps, but at 71, one becomes acutely aware of mortality." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "I have a proposition for you, and I want you to think about it seriously before answering." Marcus waited, puzzled. "I would like to marry you," Eleanor stated plainly. Marcus was stunned into silence. "Would you ever consider marrying someone 43 years older than you? Is true connection defined by age or something deeper? Think about it as our story continues. Before you respond, let me explain," Eleanor continued. "This would be a marriage of mutual benefit and genuine friendship. You would be my legal heir, and in return I would pay off your medical school debts now. You could focus on your studies without financial worry." "Eleanor, I can't," Marcus began. "It's not charity," she interrupted firmly. "I've watched you work yourself to exhaustion. Your talent is being wasted on survival when it should be devoted to healing. Consider it an investment in the future of medicine. Marcus was conflicted. The proposition seemed exploitative, marrying a woman nearly 3 times his age for financial security. Yet Eleanor was his friend, someone he genuinely cared for and respected. "People will talk," he said finally. Eleanor laughed. "People always talk. The question is whether we care what they say." After days of deliberation and several frank conversations with Eleanor about expectations and boundaries, Marcus agreed. The arrangement was clear: a marriage of companionship and mutual respect. Eleanor would gain a caring companion in her later years, and Marcus would have the freedom to pursue his medical career without crushing debt. They were married in a simple civil ceremony attended only by the necessary witnesses. News of their marriage spread quickly through the hospital and medical school, spawning exactly the kind of rumors and judgments they had anticipated. "Gold digger," Marcus overheard a fellow student mutter. "Cradle robber," another whispered about Eleanor. But the newly married couple remained unfazed, secure in the understanding they shared. Sometimes the most meaningful relationships are the ones society understands the least. Have you ever been judged for a choice that made perfect sense to you? Let us know in the comments below. The first week of their marriage was surprisingly comfortable. They moved into Eleanor's modest townhouse, tastefully furnished but not extravagant. Eleanor had a guest room prepared for Marcus, respecting the platonic nature of their arrangement. Eleanor proved to be an ideal roommate, respectful of Marcus's study time, an excellent cook, and a fascinating conversationalist when he needed a break from his textbooks. For his part, Marcus helped around the house, accompanied Eleanor to her medical appointments, and found himself genuinely enjoying her company. 7 days into their marriage, Marcus received a call from Eleanor's lawyer requesting an urgent meeting. Concerned, Marcus rushed to the law office, fearing something had happened to Eleanor. Instead, he found her waiting for him, looking perfectly healthy and somewhat amused. "What's going on?" Marcus asked, confused. "It's time you understood exactly what you've married into," Eleanor replied, nodding to her lawyer to proceed. The lawyer, a serious woman in her 50s, opened a thick folder. "Mr. Johnson, as Ms. Whitmore's husband, you're now entitled to certain information about her estate." What followed left Marcus stunned. Eleanor wasn't just financially comfortable. She was extraordinarily wealthy. The modest investments she had mentioned casually were actually controlling interests in several pharmaceutical companies. Her small savings amounted to a fortune worth over $300 million. The townhouse they lived in was just one of several properties she owned. There were also charitable foundations, trust funds, and art collections. Imagine discovering the person you just married is 100 times wealthier than you thought. Would it change how you feel about them? Would it change how you feel about yourself? The choice Marcus faces next might surprise you. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "Why didn't you tell me?" Eleanor's expression was gentle but firm. "I needed to know that you married me for who I am, not what I have." "But our arrangement," Marcus began. "Our arrangement stands," Eleanor assured him. "But now you have a choice to make. You can divorce me, take the settlement we agreed upon to cover your education, and we'll part as friends. Or we can continue as we are, with you now aware of the full scope of what you've committed to." Marcus felt dizzy with the implications. The wealth was beyond anything he had imagined, but it came with responsibility and complexity he hadn't bargained for. "I need time to think," he managed to say. Eleanor nodded. "Take all the time you need." For the next few days, Marcus walked around in a daze. He moved through his classes and hospital shifts mechanically, his mind consumed with Eleanor's revelation. He found himself drawn to the hospital chapel, seeking quiet space to think. It wasn't about the money, or at least not only about the money. It was about trust, about the nature of their relationship, about what he wanted from his life. At crossroads like these, we discover who we truly are. What matters most to you when all the layers are stripped away? Money? Status? Or something more profound? Share your thoughts in the comments. On the third day, he returned to the townhouse to find Eleanor in the garden, pruning her beloved roses. "I've made my decision," Marcus said. Eleanor set down her shears and gave him her full attention. "I want to stay married to you," he said simply. "Not for the money, but because in the short time we've known each other, you've become important to me. You're my friend, Eleanor." Eleanor studied his face carefully. "And the fortune?" "Use it as you always have," Marcus replied. "I don't want control of it. I just want to finish my education and become the doctor I've trained to be." A slow smile spread across Eleanor's face. "That's the answer I hoped for." They agreed that Eleanor would maintain control of her wealth, with Marcus serving as a sounding board rather than taking over. He insisted on a prenuptial agreement to protect her assets and to quiet any remaining rumors about his intentions. Over the next year, their unique partnership deepened into genuine affection. Marcus graduated from medical school at the top of his class and began his pediatric residency. Eleanor attended his graduation, beaming with pride. Together, they established a foundation to provide scholarships for underprivileged medical students. Eleanor's experience and connections combined with Marcus's fresh perspective and energy made them an effective team. 3 years into their marriage, Eleanor was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Despite access to the best medical care money could buy, the prognosis was clear. She had months, not years. Marcus took a leave of absence from his residency to care for her. Their roles reversed. Now he was the one ensuring she took her medications and making her comfortable. They spent long evenings talking about everything and nothing, her memories of pioneering surgical techniques, his hopes for improving pediatric care in underserved communities. "I have no regrets," Eleanor told him one evening as they watched the sunset from her bedroom window. "My life has been full, and these last few years with you have been among my happiest." When Eleanor passed away peacefully in her sleep, Marcus grieved deeply for the remarkable woman who had changed his life. At the memorial service, he was surprised by how many lives she had touched. Former patients, colleagues, beneficiaries of her quiet philanthropy. True legacy isn't measured in bank accounts or possessions, is it? What mark do you hope to leave on this world? What would you want people to remember about you? As stipulated in their agreement, Marcus received enough money to clear his debts and establish himself as a physician. The bulk of Eleanor's fortune went to medical research and charitable foundations, with Marcus named as the administrator. 5 years later, Dr. Marcus Johnson opened a pediatric clinic in an underserved neighborhood, naming it after Eleanor. On the wall hung a portrait of the silver-haired surgeon with the bright blue eyes and determined smile, the woman who had taught him that wealth had many definitions, and that the most valuable legacies weren't counted in dollars. In the waiting room, children from all backgrounds received care regardless of their ability to pay. And sometimes, when the clinic was quiet and the day's work was done, Marcus would look at Eleanor's portrait and whisper, "We did it." It wasn't the story people assumed when they heard about the young man who married a wealthy older woman. It was better. A story of unexpected friendship, mutual respect, and a shared vision for making the world a little better than they found it. Above the clinic entrance, a simple plaque read, "The Eleanor Whitmore Children's Clinic, Healing with Heart." It was, Marcus thought, exactly what she would have wanted. What did you think of Marcus and Eleanor's remarkable story? Did it change your perspective on wealth, relationships, or what truly matters in life? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more soul-stirring stories that make you think, feel, and maybe see the world a little differently. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our next upload.